Welcome to our Life After 40 Midlife Bible Study. This isn't a sermon. It's not about spiritual performance. What this is a reflection on Scripture through the lens of midlife, where strength, limits, responsibility, and exhaustion often collide. My name is Philip Blackett. I'm a husband, father, follower of Jesus Christ, and the founder of Life After 40. I help adults in midlife transform their health, wealth, and relationships, both with God and with one another, so they can thrive in the second half of life. For more support, visit our website at lifeafter40.com, subscribe to our channel here, and consider joining our midlife transformation community at the link right below. Now let's get back into the Word. Over the past few weeks, we've been building something intentional: identity, proving, rest, presence. Now, we move into something many adults over 40 years old experience, but rarely name out loud: burnout. Not laziness, not lack of faith, burnout. And there may be no better biblical picture of burnout than Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. In the chapter before this, Elijah experiences a massive victory. He confronts false prophets, fire falls from heaven, God moves powerfully. It is a mountaintop moment, and immediately after that, he collapses. He runs into the wilderness, he isolates, and he reaches a breaking point. We'll read 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. That is not mild discouragement. That is emotional depletion. And notice something important. This collapse happens after success, if you read earlier. Burnout does not always follow failure. Sometimes it follows prolonged intensity. And after 40, intensity accumulates. Years of leadership, years of parenting, years of providing, years of showing up for people, years of carrying invisible weight on your own. You may have had victories, milestones, achievements, but something inside feels depleted. You are not quitting life, but internally you might be thinking, I have had enough. Burnout often sounds like, I can't keep doing this. I don't have it in me. I'm tired in a way that sleep just does not fix anymore. And here's what's powerful about this story: God does not rebuke Elijah, he responds differently. Let's read further in verses 5 through 7 in 1 Kings chapter 19. All at once an angel touched him and said, Get up and eat. He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. This is God's first response. Before direction, before correction, before calling, what does God give Elijah? He gives him sleep, food, water, then more sleep. Midlife burnout is often physical before it is spiritual. Exhausted bodies distort perspective. Low energy amplifies fear. Depleted nervous systems exaggerate threats. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is simply rest. God does not shame Elijah for being depleted. He stabilizes him. There is something deeply compassionate here. The angel says, the journey is too much for you. That is not condemnation. That is acknowledgement. Midlife often feels like that. The journey is too much. But instead of saying, try harder, God says, eat, rest, then we'll talk. After resting, Elijah says something revealing. I am the only one left. Burnout distorts perception. It isolates. It convinces you that no one understands you. No one sees what you are going through. You are alone in this. Midlife isolation is subtle. You may be surrounded by people, but still feel unseen in your burden. And burnout thrives in isolation. Now, eventually, Elijah stands on the mountain. There is wind, earthquake, fire, dramatic intensity. But God is not in them. Let's read in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 19, verses 11 through 12. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. We went from intensity to a whisper. Burnout often happens when we expect God in dramatic ways. Big answers, big breakthroughs, big clarity. But midlife faith often shifts from spectacle to just a whisper, from adrenaline to steadiness, from intensity to gentleness. God speaks quietly, not because he is absent, but because Elijah is fragile. Burnout requires gentleness, and sometimes God lowers the volume not to hide, but to heal. Notice what God does for Elijah. He restores his body. He corrects his distorted thinking. He gives him a next step, not a 10-year strategy. Oftentimes, burnout recovery begins with just one step. Not reinvention, not overhauling your life, just one step. Almost literally. Midlife wisdom is learning the difference between calling and overextension. I've noticed something about burnout. It rarely happens because we don't care. It happens because we care deeply for a long time, and somewhere along the way, we stop tending to our own limits. We often assume strength must be constant. But strength that never rests eventually collapses. And collapse is not moral failure, it's more so human limitation. Burnout is not proof that you are weak, it's proof that you're human. It may be proof you have been strong for too long without proper relief. And God does not meet burnout with disappointment, he meets it with bread, water, rest, whisper, then one next step. That is grace. And here's the question for this week. Where are you running on empty, but pretending that you are fine? In a second layer, what would it look like to receive rest before seeking answers? Don't fix it, just notice it. You see, Elijah thought his story was over, but God knew it was a transition. Burnout often feels like ending. Sometimes it's actually recalibration. If you are tired, you are not disqualified. If you are depleted, you are not faithless. You may simply need restoration before your next direction. So for this week, sleep more, slow down, turn down unnecessary intensity, and listen for the whisper, not the wind. If this reflection resonates with you, let it sit with you. You don't need dramatic change or action. Just be honest with yourself. And if you are navigating midlife, whether it's in your health, purpose, faith, relationships, and want a place to reflect with others walking through this season, our midlife transformation community is always open. But for now, let yourself rest before seeking God's next direction. Hope this video was helpful for you. Take care, and I'll see you next week in our midlife Bible study.